watch you laugh and see that amazing smile.
Welcome home, all. It is Monday, Wrap-In Monday, kind of tonight. It is SuperMex Nation. Welcome home, and welcome to all these little terms. Veteran voice in the Valley, voice and mind of Mexican America, and a whole bunch of other critters you want to throw in if it sounds good, right? Not if it's bad, but only if it's good. So had a good weekend. I hope you did too. I hope all of you guys do what I ask on the weekends, going off on the Friday. And what I ask is not incredibly difficult. It's just basically, go out, enjoy, live life, go out and do something other than just listen to radio, news media, etc. It can be a very, very small echo chamber if you operate in that capacity. You got to get out, live a little bit, do things. And of course, as always, make sure you're safe, take care of yourself, and be mindful. Growing up, my kids growing up, I used to have to tell them all the time, and you guys should know this if you're parents, if you've lived a little bit. Kids don't know that there are other existences on this planet other than themselves, and you quite literally have to be mindful for them. And so you warn them, like, hey, be careful, watch when you're crossing the street, etc. But it's applicable toward life in general. So that's kind of my rule, is just be mindful of others, not just yourself, because it's easy to be safe for yourself. And then something comes out of the blue that you didn't foresee because it wasn't what you were mindful of and aware of at the time. That's, common sense. It should be, but you'd be amazed at how many people don't. And there are far too many people that live at home, young kids playing video games. They don't go out and live the world, live the life, right? So anyway, that's what I'm talking about. So it's Wrap-In Monday. A light wrap-in. Got my homeboy Brother Miller tonight, and so we're gonna talk a little bit about a couple items that are local to national, and get you kind of prepared for the week. The concept of the wrap-in. Come off the week, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that hopefully you guys aren't being too mindful of unless it's really critical. And we take the Monday and we prepare you for the week to try to make heads or tails of all the stuff that's going to come your way, because I think the more we do this, the more I see that there's no question that the filter for which you gather information, media outlets, whether it be through the traditional forms of news on television or cable or radio or social media for that matter, it can come at you in a barrage and a bombardment, but it doesn't always mean that it's correct. I mentioned to you, I think Friday, that I've begun cracking down on our personal page on SuperMex Nation, the forum, and I will not tolerate any foisting on of material that isn't legit or vetted out or serious. And so you guys have begun to see that, and I will say this over the last few days, the items that have come forward, posted by people in the SuperMex Nation group, are more factual, more to the point, less subjective on the part of the individual poster, and definitely not as aggressive, demeaning, or outright, I'll say, dirty and aggressive. You guys have begun to clean that up, and and on air, for the record, I do appreciate that. That is the direction we want to go, because there's a gazillion other places you can go to make fun of, bash, or lambaste your opponents and make them enemies. And I said Friday that we have way too damn many and way too many powerful enemies, real enemies, on this planet to be disagreeing and arguing and making enemies of other Americans. I fundamentally believe that. If you don't like it, well, then you're probably not watching, but I think maybe I'm not just preaching to the choir, but I'm preaching to the converted, because you quite literally keep coming back, and that's why you keep watching. As one of you reminded me over the weekend, that is why you keep watching, and I do appreciate it, cognizant of it. On record, not changing anytime soon. That is who I am, that is what this is, and I appreciate you for being here. So let's get right to the meat and the potatoes of it all. Brother Miller's back after a long vacation out there doing cool things. I mean, you all over the universe.
That ain't no vacation, though, man. I'm just doing things. Vacation is coming up.
I like you said, doing things.
Just doing things.
Doing things. So let's get two things in particular. Two things in particular. We'll get to one in a minute. So we're going to talk about two things that Brother Miller's here for. One, we're going to talk about our mayor's race. You know, not too much, because I think that we're still at an early stage, right? This isn't like a presidential election. We're a year and a half out.
Remember, our primary is
When is the primary?
March.
March. Oh yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we're in the
We'll be-
season, man.
yeah, we'll be there in
This year,
a heartbeat.
campaigning is going to go right through the holiday season. It's going to be a different approach with all the.
But even
candidates.
over the summer right now.
Yeah, oh yeah, they got to start. That's why That's why they're starting to declare now, because the timeline has moved up 4 months.
Okay. Correction. Thank you. That's why I've got Brother Miller to keep me up to date. I will say this, and you do know, I, for better or worse, you can't do everything. You can't cover everything.
True.
I think you know that. And so I think at this point what I'm doing is I'm spending a lot of my time national to international, foreign policy, you know, that's my wheelhouse, for obvious reasons. And then I don't do much like from national back to state, back to city. And then I pick it up back on the bottom end at the real base, which is local and community, my community, which you know implicitly, our school board and our city council areas out into West Fresno. Because if I try to cover everything with the amount of time, energy, and effort, I would literally be doing that nonstop 24/7.
Yeah, it's
So
gonna be
those are my areas.
This year in the 2020 cycle is going to be real interesting in the Fresno area. You've got the District 2 race, City Council District 2 race to replace Brandow, which runs the possibility of having 4 elections between now and November of 2020. They've got their special election in August, and there are 4 or 5 people that's running in that race. Probably nobody's going to get a majority in
Right.
there, and so then they're going to have a runoff in November.
So they'll carry over.
To 2019.
So the only ones I do know, and you jump on me or jump in as you need to, the signs that I've seen, and that's literally going to be all, because I used to live in that area just until recently. I moved back west and a little bit out with my homies, but I used to live in that area. So Carbasi, Garcia,
There's
that's it.
Jarrett Gordon is another conservative that's in that race. There is the young gentleman, Oscar Sandoval, who's a Central boy that's out in that area. A younger
Really?
gentleman, yeah, who's in that race. And the fifth one backed out, and now he's. And actually, there is another Republican that's in there, and his name escapes me right now. But there's also a gentleman, Democrat, who was in that race who backed out. Now he's going to run for Congress against Devin Nunes. His name escapes me right now too. So it's 5 candidates.
Oh yeah, because that area is the Nunes District too.
Yeah, and so
What is he running as? Is he a
Dem.
Dem?
He's a Dem.
Okay.
And Phil Arbayo, ARBA Felipe.
ALLO.
ARBALLO, Arbayo. Felipe is his given name, but he goes by Phil. So there's 5 people in that race, and so like I said, their runoff or their primary election for the open seat right now will be in August. August, I think it's the 13th or 14th, first day of the Fresno Unified Open School, the first day of school.
Oh, wow.
So voter turnout on that one is going to be down.
Wow.
I really don't believe that anybody's going to be able to pull off a majority in there.
Probably not.
And then so they will be campaigning immediately for November, and then whoever wins in November, they're only going to serve until basically they serve 2020, because their primary
And then they're
for
back
that
on the
open
ballot.
seat, they're back on the ballot
Whoa.
for March of 2020
Woo.
to run again for November of 2020. So they may have 4 elections in District 2 on that area.
And are any of them? Are they out walking right now?
Oh yeah, they're out walking and talking, doing lots of stuff. My concern though is just the people, the voters that are in that area. You know, we already have a tough time.
I know that voter. I was one of them.
Coming on board right now, when you have these special elections, the voter turnout usually is down.
Correct.
And so when you've got those, and then there's 2 different types of races also. The August and November of 2019 will be in our old form, going to the polling place, and then March of 2020 and November of 2020 will be in our new form, the Voters' Choice Act, where everybody gets their ballot mailed out to them at home. So everybody becomes a vote by mail person. See, there's a lot of work that needs
I
to be
did not
done.
know that.
So and I know I'm kind of jumping off track
I don't
a little
know.
bit.
No, but I need to know that.
That's
I didn't know that.
That's one of the things that I'm going to take on in the best way that I can.
I'm immediately trying to process if that's good or bad.
It's a good thing. It's a great thing because they're going to a couple of different things. If you allow me, talk about the Voters' Choice
ahead.
Act, VCA.
Let me stop you for a second.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. I'm immediately processing SuperMex Nation because I was just in a race, 2 races.
All right.
I can't prove it, so I've got to be careful how I say it, but I know it happened. Better yet, I have people that know it, but they won't come forward and say it because they're afraid of repercussion. They are first, second generation, not Mexican, by the way, but another ethnicity, and they're afraid to come out and basically tell what happened. But there were people that went to some of the vote by mails, and they basically got those people when those vote, because we all know when the vote by mails drop.
Correct. About a month at a time.
Right. So
30
that
days
weekend,
out.
weekend, there was an individual or a couple that went to specific houses, specific of that ethnic group, and got them to vote a certain way, and it wasn't for me.
Okay.
And I had somebody from within that ethnic group tell me later that they did not vote for me because of that. Now
Okay,
they
but
can't come forward and come
that's
forward.
not illegal. You know that with the new law.
It is if you fill it out.
It is if I take your ballot and I complete it for you, that's still not illegal because if you're handicapped or some other way you need help with it.
They weren't handicapped.
There's nothing wrong with that.
They weren't handicapped.
When you put the ballot inside of that envelope, there's 2 things that needs to happen now. One is that you have to sign it. I cannot sign for you. And then there's also a secondary area on there that you have to signify on there that you gave your ballot to someone or that you got help with your ballot. That's the way the old process was.
I don't think that happened.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm saying. That's why I'm cautious.
If
I can't prove it.
If I take your vote by mail ballot and I go home and I fill it out for you, put it in that envelope, and now I sign your name on it, I've just committed fraud.
Yeah, I don't think, okay, so it wasn't that. It was they went to the house when these people had their thing, ballot, and they helped them fill it out.
That's not illegal, by the
Okay.
way. Because the rules have changed.
Well, you could imagine. Well, that's changed, but this was in the past 2 years, 4 years. This was in the past.
The rules changed. I don't know exactly the date, but in the last cycle, it was okay for me to help you with your ballot, as long as you put everything in there and you signed it.
So you understand why that's why I'm a little leery.
I got you.
Help me with your ballot. So okay, so with that context, go ahead. Tell me about what this is.
There is going to be some questions and concerns when we move to this new system because of what you're saying right now. But one of the things that has happened, and I know a couple of different organizations will put together what they call ballot parties. So people got their ballots at home. They all went to the same place, whether it be a residence. They did it at Fresno State in the student hall. And they had conversations about different people on there, about the different propositions that were on there. And then they kind of collectively, after those discussions, filled out their ballots, put them in their own envelopes, signed them, and then they gave them to a person to be able to turn in with them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
There's nothing illegal. Our new Secretary of State legalized all that about 3 years ago.
So here's my issue with it, and I don't know if this is like, political spectrum. I don't think it matters to me, in terms of like, am I far left or far right on this? But you understand why, like, for me personally, and for like going forward, I have some issue with people going and getting people to vote for what they want, even if it may not be what they want.
Agreed.
You understand what I mean?
Agreed.
It's not just misleading. I think I'm going to say it's wrong.
But I agree. But that goes back to, it's not illegal. That goes back to the morality of it. That you're telling people.
If it's not illegal, it's okay, right?
No.
I'm messing with you.
I'm
You
not
see what
saying
I'm doing?
that it's okay. I'm just
I'm
saying
messing with you.
you're not going to go to jail for giving people falsified information or leading person, in a wrong direction for the ballot. You will go to jail though if you're filling out people's ballots. If you're not. If you're signing their ballot for them or their envelope for them, if you're doing those type of things, then you're in violation.
So you see why it's like I'm joking with you, but like current climate,
right? And that's
and so we're going to 2020.
Right.
I mean, could you see how like I hear it on both ends actually. I can hear it on both ends that that's not what they really wanted to do. They were influenced by their party or the Republican Party, the Democratic Party went and did this or that.
But isn't that part of the political process? Isn't that what we do as candidates? Think about it.
I'd say that's different.
I got you.
That'd be different to me.
So when you're a candidate, when you go knock on someone's door, you're not trying to get them, you're not trying to persuade them that you're the best person or whoever you're knocking on the door.
Of course.
So what's the difference if they have their ballot in hand or if the ballot's in the mail? It's still a sales job. So I got you. I got you.
You're killing me. I'm trying to be with you, but you said sales, and I'm like, hell no.
But
look, that's part of the problem that we have, and I'm going to say it. On a national level, part of the problem is that people look at national politics as a sales and a hustle.
I agree.
And I don't do the hustle.
I agree. I agree. I 200% agree with you. You and I.
I don't do the hustle.
You and I have had this conversation before, but there are people right now, and there's candidates that we're going to talk about.
Okay, so is
it
just California? How magnified is this?
And it's not all of California. There's only 8 counties. Last election cycle.
How the hell does that work? So it's a county decision?
It's a county decision. So in 2018, there were 5 counties. Sacramento was one of them, and Madera was one of them.
Is there argument because we're rural or Central California?
They want to move the whole state to it. That's what Padilla would like to do, is to move the whole state to it. But he wanted to do feelers to find out what the snags are with it. This next cycle in 2020, I believe there's 8 more counties that's going to go in. So there'll be a whole 13 of the 52 counties will be participating in it. So it'll be us in the Central Valley. It'll be Fresno, Madera, and Sacramento, if you consider that Central Valley. I mean,
you can understand why I'm going to say it. Okay, so I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm against it. I'm leery.
I got you.
You see what I mean?
I understand, but I tell you one of the reasons why I'm a big proponent of it.
Give me a reason for wanting.
Because every county, especially in Madera
Is it going to
County,
drive?
It increased. An increased voter turnout. Now, what you have to do, which they have not, if you ask the questions of the secretaries of the different counties, the clerks of the different counties, was all of the votes that you received legitimate? Could they say that Darren Miller didn't fill out Richard Martinez's ballot and put it in there?
Yeah.
You can't say that. But what they're doing now is once you get in that process, then they're going to put the safeguards. Everything is going to be 100% by signature. So you're going to have, when you have the one-day polling places is going away in 2020. So the day of the election.
For California, for our area.
For Fresno, this is for Fresno County.
Oh man, I got to process that.
No, so think about it. And you're like my dad. It took me 30,
thinking about it.
Took me 30 minutes, 30 minutes to convince my dad that it was a good thing. So the one day, election day on Tuesday, polling places is going away. So that's over 300-something polling places is going to go away. But they're being replaced with 50 voting centers throughout the county.
Okay.
And these voting centers are going to be open from 4 days to 11 days prior to the election. So people are the one-day plethora, or how many ever there was, 300 and whatever, one-day polling places on those individual dates that you can only go to your polling place to vote other than going to the election office.
Okay, because I mean, this changes the mechanics of and tactics of campaigns.
Correct, it does, big time, big time. And so what's going to happen now is...
Well, hold on, just offhand, and keep with the line of thought. Offhand, would you say that helps regular folk running or helps machinery running?
I think it could help both. It depends on who's...
Because you and I have been on both ends of that.
Yeah, it depends on who's going to invest the time and energies to put together a process to be able to get people to vote. I can tell you what it's not going to help.
Machinery is going to know that, though.
It's not going to help machinery with the downplaying or disencouraging people to vote. Stay away. This person's not... Suppression part of it it's not going to play well with that because people are going to have their ballots at home. So you got within these voting centers, here are some of the services you can get. If you live in your area and you happen to be out in Kalinga, say taking care of business on a particular day, and you got your ballot with you, you can submit your ballot. If whatever the polling place or the vote center that's out there, if it's open, you can submit your vote out there. You can still do it by mail. There's going to be drop boxes all around the county. And remember, in California, I can take your ballot as long as it's in an envelope and you've signed it and you've signified on there that you've given your ballot to somebody to submit for you. I can submit your ballot for you as well. So I really do believe that that we could see in Fresno County a 70, 60, 70, maybe even 75% voter turnout. And you know that's going to be beneficial for people.
Okay, so that's probably how you convince your dad, because turnout is better. Obviously, you want more Americans voting.
Right. Because as soon as I told him that the polling places was going away, he went cuckoo bird. You know, they're taking away things again.
I'll tell you why. Listen, because my wife is like, she moved to vote by mail a long time ago.
Right.
All right.
That doesn't change.
I did it. I know.
Vote by mail is all the same.
I did not. I physically like going to the poll.
You still can do that, except for you're going to have to find a vote center. So if you've been going to the same polling place for the last 20 years, your polling place may not be there anymore.
Yeah.
If it's a community center, it may turn into a voting center, and you can still go there. But on the day of the election.
And,
maybe
and
4
listen,
days,
and I'm
or
probably
11.
not the best. I'm not probably not the best example because I've got this little 3-pronged hat on, and I've got images of, 1789, and I'm going to the poll. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, man.
1789.
Well, the beginning of our country, right?
Well, you and I, people like us weren't allowed to vote back then, man.
Well, back then, no, but that's what I have in my head as the process of American democracy.
I got you.
Is you walk to a poll, and I'm going to say it, you get your butt off the couch and you get your butt down to the polling place and exercise your right.
And you still can do that. And you can do that in some places up to
you
11 days before the election. So one of the things I'm going to do with some of the organizations is I'm going to create a system and a structure of getting this information out. Just like I just gave it to you and SuperMex Nation right now. We got to get that information out.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people. You're an extremely intelligent, politically informed person. And for you not to know that,
unfortunately,
that's why my I'm
going to tell you, and I think you know why. Because, like on a local level, I told you, I'm not.
But I mean, and I'm not saying that as a fault or a blame. It's just it's a major concern of mine.
No, and it should be.
You and I have had numerous conversations about politics abroad.
I get your point. If I'm
locally,
not in tune,
right.
then you're saying the majority, which I would agree
Right,
with you,
right.
is not in tune. Because I'm going to tell you, my wife doesn't know that. I'm going to have to tell her tonight.
And where are they going? And where is regular Joe Blow going to get that information from? What the elections office is going to do, they have some mandates. So they have to send out.
Yeah, how do you disperse the information?
They have some. The Secretary of State also has some timelines in there, and I don't want to misquote them, but there are some timelines in there as to where they're supposed to notify the voters that there's a new process. And I know what's going to happen is our county elections office is, if it's say a 60-day window that you've got to have this information out 60 days prior to the election, guess when they're going to send it? 60 days prior to the election. They have to do it in print. They have to do it on different mediums, voice and radio, television, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So they have a process of doing what they are required to do. But guess what? With the requirement, peanut butter and jelly is a requirement. And everybody don't like peanut butter and jelly. Some people are allergic to peanut butter.
No, but you're okay. So
how do we get it to them with bananas in it?
All right, so you got me on record. Then we're going to need to.
Count me in. Count me in. I'm on board for that.
We're going to need to continue, if not openly discuss it for extended period of time. You're putting meat on the bones. But clearly we need to keep reminding people, if not bring it up and say, hey, make sure you find out.
VCA, Voters Choice Act.
Voters Choice. And how long has that been in place?
It just got voted on in March, I believe it was, when the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
It was either March so this is June. May have been April. It was either March or April at their meeting when they actually voted and accepted it unanimously.
Okay.
To go in that way. 5-0 was the vote.
So you got me on the spot, and I did not know that.
Now there's information. You can go to Fresno County Elections Office, and they do have, I don't know what you call it, drop-down menu, whatever, where you can click on it and you can read through the general information. They still don't have where the 50 centers are going to be. They haven't done that. They're going through the process of being.
So still work in progress.
Yeah, still work in progress, but it's going to happen. It's going to be 100% of everybody in Fresno County is going to have their ballot mailed to them.
On my word, I will inform myself and get more up to date on that. I apologize. Well, maybe I shouldn't apologize. I didn't know. So I did not know, but that's why I rely on you a little bit.
But that's why people that are in our roles, I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're doing what we can to get that information out.
It's responsibility.
If people say, well, who am I going to get in contact with? If you got 4 voters in your house and you go home and then you make sure that they understand, that's 4 more people that know. Right. And maybe those 4 people then go and tell another 4 people. And I think that's the attitude that I'm taking with this. I'm taking it upon myself to train some folks with this information so they're comfortable, so that we can go out. I'm really heavily paying attention to what's going on in the African American community. I'm committed myself to going out to African American congregations in particular, to go out and have conversations where I'm presenting information, availing myself to be able to answer questions as best I can, to kind of, one of the things that I know about, at least in the African American community, and I'm quite sure it's the same in other communities, south end of town, is that we don't do well with change. We always look at change with a third eye.
I'm on record.
Why are we changing? There's nothing wrong with things before. Why are we changing? And that's what I went through with my dad. And so that's why it's hit home with me that I need to do my part.
change, you know, and I'll say it, in minority or ethnic communities or lower income communities can become prohibitive or preclusive to wanting to get involved because this thing is this way, and so like, hey, you know, change, and I don't know, you know.
We have a bad history with change here in Fresno. We've been, you know, sold and told a bunch of things that just haven't come to fruition, and so.
All right, let's. I'll cut you there because we got to move on.
Well, it ties
but I will get this.
It ties into what you said.
Well, give me that. So you got the names there. Give me the names of the candidates in that one council race to the northwest.
So, and that's
that
District
is my
2,
backyard.
Fresno City Council, District 2.
District
You got
2.
Mike Carbasi, you've got Lawrence Garcia, you've got Jarrett Gordon, you've got Mike Sandoval, and then you have another gentleman, I should have looked his name up, whose name escapes me right now. But there's 5 people who are running in that race, which is a special election in 2019 in August, and then they'll run again if it's primary. I mean, if a runoff is necessary in November, and then they'll immediately ramp up again.
Okay,
and
so handicapping that because there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of hurdles, good hurdles, but you know, part of the race, right? Here they're going to run again. It's not a traditional simple boom race.
Right.
Okay, so what would you say? I mean, is it going to be?
Not
to pick a one, but what would you say?
So
two of the ones at top?
He's a Democrat. He is a crossover Democrat. He is heavily supported by Jerry Dyer, Smith Camp. He's those traditional right wing.
Is he Armenian?
I don't know what his. I don't believe so. I don't know what his the exact ethnicity is, but I don't believe he's Armenian.
Yeah, and I'll just say it. And there's nothing ethnic or racial. It's just like Armenians, Democrat or Republicans have the ability to kind of pull from both sides.
Well, he's in that ring, and he's run for city council previously when he was in it 20 years ago or so. He told me. Lawrence Garcia is a Republican, has some backing, not a whole bunch of the right wing backing. He has some backing, has some name, credibility in business in some other different areas. Don't know a whole bunch about him. Jarrett Gordon is a lawyer. I have met him. He's a local lawyer, works on contract law type of things.
Okay.
He has run also previously. Has been involved in city politics, kind of.
Who's got the most money?
I don't know. I have not looked at that. Yeah.
Still early on.
It's still, because there's no reporting that's come out yet. And then Oscar Sandoval, young guy, 27 or 28 years old, Central grad, went to USC.
I did not know that, so I'm going to have to find out about that young blood. He's
Oscar Sandoval.
my neck of the woods. Okay.
He's a Democrat on the progressive side. He's new to politics.
Sounds like me a long time ago.
Yeah, he has a lot of ambition, has some knowledge about.
Sounds like me a long time ago.
But he's just a younger guy who wants to make a difference, and this is how he's going to do it. The 5th gentleman, whose name I don't know anything about him. I haven't met with him. Have not.
How about this? We'll keep that updated, or you keep me abreast as we go, because it is in my backyard. It's where I lived for 20 years.
Right.
When I first got out of the Army, I was on the Herndon corridor, Polk and Milburn.
Yeah. So that's basically it's north of Shaw, between the railroad tracks. I'll take that back. It does go on the other side of the railroad tracks.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. It takes in where the water park is, all that area over there.
It sneaks in. It's become a bigger part of Central Unified than ever before. So there is interest on my end because I've said it before. We've elected city council people that were technically part of Central Unified, but we've not gotten a lot out of those city council people other than, you know, photo ops and promises. And I'm looking at 20-something years later. Interesting sidebar. Today, out of the blue, I wasn't even aware, but okay, maybe I'm being oblivious, but our area was paved with brand new asphalt. The roads were done. Brand new.
When you say your area,
okay, I'm a McKinley.
You're west of 99, right?
Yes, I am. McKinley and Polk.
Okay, McKinley and Polk.
McKinley and Polk. And so our area was, our subdivision at least, was done. Brand new asphalt. Now here's the thing.
You're District 1, correct? Or are you a county?
Arias is district.
So you're 3.
Okay, so here's why I'm bringing it up. Because my subdivision in particular is not super ancient. It's maybe 5, 6, 7 years old at most. The roads weren't bad is my point. And if you go right down the road on McKinley and you go to McKinley Elementary, that is the worst kind of road. I mean, it's
well, that's a county though. If I'm not mistaken, McKinley.
No, McKinley, right?
Is it McKinley Elementary in the county?
Nope.
It's not. Okay.
It is city. It is city. My point is that there's some areas in that area that's ridiculously bad.
Right.
That hasn't been done in like maybe 40 years. And I'm sitting here like, okay, so the selfish guy
That
in
whole
me.
area out there is crazy.
Crazy, it's extremely crazy. So the selfish side of me is like, oh, cool, we just got some brand new asphalting for my house.
Isn't there some
I
new
should be happy.
development out there also between Belmont and Olive?
There's new developments every other 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There is. But I'm going to say it again. So I'm happy if my concern is my backyard in my neighborhood. But you know how I think.
Right.
I would rather suffer so that the whole can benefit. There are areas that are 40, 50 years old in terms of the roads and bad, really bad. And they just repaved ours. And I'm sitting here like, hey, you know what? I appreciate it. Maybe because we're a good voting block. Maybe. But hey, there's some areas over the corner,
Yeah,
not even a mile, 2-3 miles down the road.
That McKinley
bad.
Elementary is a horrible.
It is bad.
It's a perfect example, a great example of how horrible it is over there.
It is.
And especially when it rains.
When
When it
listen,
rains,
all
it's
you have to
crazy.
do is drive by McKinley Elementary. And you're like, where am I?
Right.
Is this like I'm in a third world country?
Right.
Which was joked about once. Okay, sidebar. So let's get to it. You gave me those. You're gonna keep me abreast. Give me the mayor's race. We're running a lot of time here.
With the mayor's race, there's 5 candidates that have declared that they're going to run for mayor. Andrew Jans, who's on the Democratic side, Jerry Dyer, who's on the Republican
So
side.
he is in officially.
Yeah, I mean he had his coming out announcement
Okay.
a couple weeks ago. Elliot Balch, who is a Democrat, who's done some work in city government and in actually the state government as well. And then you got city council person Luis Chavez, who's on the Democratic
So
side.
he is running.
He is running. He has not had an announcement other than he has verbally told people publicly that he's going to be running for mayor. So he may
Okay.
change his mind and back out. And then there's a gentleman who's run before, Richard Renteria,
That sounds familiar.
older gentleman. He's got a big goatee. He ran
sounds
in the last election, last mayor
Okay.
cycle. He hasn't had an announcement. Or
So
anything.
diverse group, ethnically and party.
Not so much party. There's only really one Republican. That's Jerry Dyer. The other 3,
Oh, wow.
Jans, Balch, and Chavez are all Democrats. And
Really?
I don't know what registration Renteria is. I would assume
So
that
I'm
he's a Democrat.
I'm
but
gonna
not
guess
positive
that nobody
about
wins that outright,
it. Correct.
and you get Dyer, and I'm just speculating. I don't know, but normally I would say Dyer and then one of the others.
I would think so.
Out of a primary?
Because Dyer is going to be. So if you follow, local politics, there's an announcement by Mayor Brand that he is not going to.
Correct.
Let me back up even
You
further.
informed us on that.
Let me back up for a second. GV Wire does a survey, and the survey had it was 4 or 5 different surveys. So one of the surveys was, if you voted today, would you vote for Jans, Dyer? And this is even before Dyer had even announced. So Jans had announced that he was running for mayor. So the poll was, are you going to vote for Jans? Are you going to vote for Brand? Or are you going to vote for Jerry Dyer, another Republican, or another Democrat? And in that poll, Jerry Dyer won that. He got 40-something% of that poll vote,
I mean, he has the name ID.
the name ID. So then there
For
was
those of you that don't know,
Yeah.
he's our current
police chief.
police chief. And how long has he been in office?
18 years. He's been the police chief.
Hey, wow,
He's been
really?
the police chief 18 years. I don't remember how much time he's got
Has
on
it
the
been that
force.
long?
Yeah, 18 years.
We're getting old because that was like yesterday, man.
18
Seriously,
years,
I
yes.
remember. Oh wow, okay, yeah.
So there was some other sidebar one-on-one polls. You know, Brand against Jans, Jans against Dyer against Dyer against Brand. Seemed like it was one other in there, but there was nothing in there about. I don't believe Jans versus Brand. Jans versus Dyer was one of those surveys.
Okay.
But anyway, right after that survey results came back out, and I get all this all the time off the wire because I have a subscription with GV Wire. All of a sudden now Brand makes an announcement that he's not going to seek a second term. Okay, GV Wire is the
propaganda arm of Semi.
direct to Semi, Granville
yeah.
Homes.
Granville Homes.
So, I mean, you start looking and putting the pieces together. I believe that the Republican backing, the Republican machine, says, look, Brand, you cannot, in these polls, you're not going to beat Jans. we want to make sure that we have a viable candidate in this mayoral race because we don't want to lose that seat.
Right.
We're not going to back you.
Really?
This is Darren Miller talking, but I mean the scenario plays
Your
out.
thought?
You have this local Fresno area poll that comes out that shows our current mayor, Brand, in a negative light, that he can't really win his way out of this. Republicans come to him, say, look, we're not going to back you in this. We're probably going to back Jerry. He's thinking about it. Jerry makes a statement. He's considering, after Brand's announcement, I'm not seeking a second term, immediately Jerry says, like, I'm considering possibly running within 2 weeks. Now he's making an announcement that he is going to run, and the word is that that Republican wheel that supported Brand in the office has now got their candidate, who is Jerry Dyer. And it would seem, if you look at the ledger, it would seem that is the way that it's stacked up, that there's three viable Democrats right now, Chavez, Balch, and Jans, who are taking on Jerry Dyer.
Okay.
And so that's just me. I mean, there's no scientific methodologies that I've used or anything. Just having my ear to the streets, listening to conversations, knowing the different players, going into meetings, asking questions and listening, not basically talking. This is kind of the analysis that I have, is that it's basically going to be a 4-horse race.
So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, like on personal end anyway, on my end. But, I'm going to ask, obviously, again, keep us abreast of, what goes, because it's going to come right around the corner real quick. If you said March, right?
March.
They're going to be busy.
March 3rd is when
a lot of money.
March 3rd is when the primary election is going to happen. And remember, Brand is sitting on $500,000, $490,000 that he has in a war chest that he is not going to use now. So what is he going to do with that money? Probably take up an independent expenditure, and whoever he winds up supporting in this race, he's going to help them either out front with supporting them, or that's a lot of money.
You can lock in a win with it. That's
but the other part of it is that you can do the oppositional research. Going back in there, taking a look at going through people's records and history with a fine-tooth comb.
Man, I gotta tell you, it's like I hear that and I'm like, I'm living in a post-fact world where, and I've already told you on my end, like I'm using my examples for my audience. I'm sure, opposition research was done on me, but it wasn't even true. They just put it out and saturated people, and I'll tell you what the ugly one for me was, that they told people that I had served dishonorably first.
From your got a dishonorable discharge? Is that what that means? Wow. Okay.
Dishonorable discharge, what they told people at the door, and then it morphed into not just being dishonorably discharged, but that I had not served at all, that I fraudulently made myself out to be a veteran. And so that's kind of where I go with op research. I mean, you can do op research and maybe there's some truths, but we're at a point now where you don't even have to say anything true anymore. Right. You can just say what you want, and the old line, if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes truth. And that's part of where my cynicism lies with.
The other part that goes on with oppositional research is it's supposed to be designed for you to find your opponent's weakness.
Correct.
If there's not a weakness there, then what you do is you create one. And then what happens with your opponent? Your opponent's got two decisions now. Either he spends time and resources to rebuke what is said about him in the opposition research, which could be untrue. So now that's taking away from his campaign, or he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that however, and I'll get into the weeds here a little bit. That's however in races where there actually is the ability, a repartee of some kind or debates of some kind. In local, smaller races, there is no coverage, or there isn't, and it just kind of whoever can get their stuff out is what's believed. Here's what, and I'm going to laugh about this. You're going to laugh about this. If you read that GV Wire, I don't, because they tried to do a little hatchet job on me this last time. None of it was true, and I told them, I said, now will you go out, and they put out stuff that was insinuating things that I had done within my community. And I told them, I didn't do that. Real simple, right? They put it out in their, and I'll say it, their propaganda, and some people out there believed it. Well, when it was proven to not be true after investigations and all kinds of other things, I didn't see them coming back and retract statements. Right. Okay, so that's a forewarning.
I got
but
you.
Here's the thing. So what they did do, this is like because I don't read them, they're not a media outlet to me, depending on what you call media. Not a truth source.
Not necessarily.
It's almost it's objective, and it clearly has a subjective approach because of where their intent is in terms of which They're designed to be a piece of Granville Homes, which is a developer and a developing company. So they have their own. Because I can create my own media too.
So with that in mind, and I agree with you, with that in mind, what I use it for is it's another source of information. Because usually I can get, the first time I get some information politically is from GV Wire, like Renteria. I wouldn't have known Renteria was running unless I got the GV Wire. So now that I get the information, I go out and I do my own research to find out what's the true and what's the value of it.
See, you're right. You're a better man than me.
You're absolutely correct.
Like Whitesnake said, once bitten, twice shy, baby. So I don't even watch them at all. But what I was going to tell you was that after they did that little business on me, and then they didn't go out there and say, oh, actually, full exoneration. You like that, right? Full exoneration. There was no exoneration talked about. When I told them I had no part of whatever it is they're talking about, they didn't come back and say, Mr. Martinez had been telling the truth the whole time. They didn't do that. So, interesting sidebar. I got a message this past week. I don't know if you read GV Wire, you'll know this, but they got a message that 2 of the people that are technically my representatives for different positions and seats were busted by the FPPC for fines. Yeah. One of them was the person that I ran against 3 years ago. Okay.
There's 3 people in the area.
3 total, but 2 that I live in directly. I'm in their area.
Oh, yeah, you're right, huh? You're absolutely correct.
Okay, so Eric Payne and Terry Cox represent my
Eric Payne
area.
is with State Center Community College in that area. Yep. Terry Cox is Central Unified.
The person I ran against for my school board.
Okay.
And they were both busted for...
And then the other gentleman, well, you can't say necessarily busted.
I will say busted. I will say busted. They were busted by the FPPC and fined for practices.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Listen, I'm not going to parse words. Listen, I'm pretty hard because I don't do that.
Right.
I'm clean.
They're not going to jail necessarily.
No, they're not going to jail.
Whenever I hear busted, that's what I'm thinking of. That somebody's being hauled off to go to jail.
I look at busted as you got caught doing wrong.
Right. Yeah, they didn't. I don't know all the particulars with Terry's, but I do know that it had to do with not
reporting things.
Not reporting things, which is unethical. Not following timelines.
Even worse, she did not. Okay, so, and you know, I'm a soldier. If I make a mistake, I'm taking my own sword. Right. Okay, I've said that on air, and I've done it before, by the way. She blamed her personnel.
No, but you can blame whoever you want to. You as the candidate.
You're the candidate.
Yeah, you're responsible for that.
That's what
I got a deal right now that I'm dealing with FPPC from my city council primary race. Remember, in June, I lost by the 6 votes in the primary. We turned all the paperwork into the city of Fresno, which is who we submitted. I stopped my campaign, closed out my account. Well, that information was never forwarded to Sacramento. So I get a letter from Sacramento about... You get busted? Not necessarily busted, but they said, listen, you owe us $200 or whatever it was. I think it's $50 and a $200 fine because you didn't submit your paperwork by January. Yeah. So now I got to go back, went back to the city of Fresno and said, listen, I submitted this information to you. Well, yeah, you did. Why was it not forwarded on to Sacramento? Well, that's not our job. You have to do that as a candidate.
Yeah.
So then you need to give me all my copies. You need to give me originals of the copies so that I can submit this so that we can take care of it. Yeah. And so it would be real easy for me to say, hey, look, my treasurer was supposed to submit all this information and she should know that.
Correct.
It's her fault.
Correct.
But it's not her fault.
It's your campaign.
It's my campaign. She's under my auspices. She's working for me. Or volunteering for me.
Right.
I need to make sure that she and I are communicating. And it was just she didn't know. She thought that when she submitted the information to Fresno, which is, because on the front end, we submitted all the information to Sacramento. Sacramento says, no, you don't need to submit it with us. You need to submit it with Fresno. Like, okay, but that's where it starts and ends.
Yeah.
That's what our thought process was. But it's not, that wasn't the reality of it. And so now I just, I'm still waiting to hear back from them. So, hey, don't laugh. I shouldn't laugh on me. I may be on, maybe in GV Wire next.
That's funny. Yeah. All right, let's move on. So keep us abreast on the mayor's race. I mean, I'm relying on you, trusting you to, update us because I'm not there.
Just one more thing on the mayoral race. There are some other people who are rumored. I'm not going to speak names, but there are some people who are rumored to get into the field. As you notice, that it's all testosterone. There's 5 men, 5 men running.
I didn't say it.
So there is this rumor hint that there are some females.
Not even one female, huh?
No, not one female. And so You know,
And we're not that far
you
removed
got-
from Ashley Swearingen doing
Right.
2 terms. I mean, it's not like we can't.
Right. But then again, when you look at it, where would the female candidate come from? Really, there's only one person that's kind of in line for
Okay,
it.
I'll say it. She's not coming from the. She won't come from the Republican side.
But yeah, exactly. Who is a female Republican leader politically in this
Not
area?
if Jerry Dyer's in the race.
Right. You know, even on the Democratic side,
But
there's
my
not
point
a
is
lot.
that, I mean, even Ashley Swearingen, she wasn't on the council, though, or in government. She
Correct.
came out of the business sector.
Correct.
So I'm saying that even, I get your point,
Mm-hmm.
but Ashley Swearingen didn't come out of government. She came out of the business sector, but I don't see that happening either, especially if Dyer's already in,
Correct.
on the Republican side
So
anyway.
there's some other people, but the timeline is short. You know, they are these.
So without giving all the till out, I mean, so you're saying maybe a female on the Dem side? maybe?
Actually, there's a Dem, and also I don't know what the other person is. The other name that was kind of floated out there, but really the only other person I would think that would be in line with it would be Soria, since she's the only female that's on the city council. I don't know what her feelings are or not, but I mean, so that's
I'd be
the other-
amazed if she ran for that.
I would too. I mean, I think she would. You know, I think she's got some great qualities. I think she would serve well in that capacity.
I don't think so.
I know you don't, but you know, and we come from different angles on that one. But you know, my whole thing is about not do they. If I got 10 standards, they don't have to hit 10 out of 10 standards. They got to be on a majority. They got to hit at least 6. But then you also have to look at the body of work.
You just said politics today.
But
That's
I mean,
that's
but-
like we can't like I got 10. I'm hoping for 4.
Okay, so think about this.
Hold on, I'm gonna do this because this
Okay.
is funny. It's got to go on there. So for SuperMex Nation, we're gonna have to agree. I've got 10 metrics. I'll be happy if I can get 4 or 5 for the politician, whoever the hell it is. Seriously,
no,
man.
6. I said
Seriously,
6. At least 6.
You're 50 plus 1.
50 plus 1. Got to be 50 plus 1. And then on the other 4, then I'm going to take a look at the things that I disagree with them and see what the backstory is. Why did they vote in that way? Why did they push that particular initiative? Why? Why? And if I can come up with an answer on 2 of them, although I don't agree,
Yeah.
then I can live with that. Think about it. Being a minority male in this particular area, being of African American descent, male in this particular area, I'm never going to get 10 out of 10. Not in my lifetime. And I'm not saying that to be defeatist or anything, but I'm just
And
saying.
I'm not chuckling because
and
you're
then-
wrong.
that's a reality.
I'm chuckling
So-
because you're right.
So I'm not going to settle for somebody. I'm not going to vote for somebody or support or push somebody who doesn't fit at least 60% of what's going on.
Yeah.
If it's 50-50, hell, I'll run.
Yeah.
You know, I know my own integrity. I know that I don't know everything, but at least I know that I'm going to do the goodwill for the people. And so that's kind of the matrix that I've come up with. And we've got a lot of people who, you know, if you don't fit 9 or 8 or 9 out of my 10 things, I'm not going to vote for you.
I'll give you a different perspective. Okay, so this is like,
Excuse me.
let's see how this works. So I'm not disagreeing with you entirely. You know, I'm kind of with you. But I don't think I do like the 10 and then they have to maybe meet 6 or 7 or 8. That'd be nice, right? I think what I do is if I'm looking at 10 aspects of a politician or a candidate for something, I'm looking at 1 and then I filter through those other 9.
Gotcha.
And you probably know what that 1 is.
Here's a
Who the hell are you? And what are you going to be like when you get in that position when you have some power? And I mean, listen, this isn't exact science, right? I mean, we can't pencil that out and say this is who they will be exactly because we see people change once they're in. But I look at body of work, lifetime, whatever, and I'm not going to say that I won't excuse some things that maybe they were in a tough political position or whatever, and they had it's like by percentages. But I try to minimize that percentage down to that 1 solid percent where this person is fundamentally going to do what's right for people as a whole. And then you look at, okay, he voted this way on that one thing. Well, maybe because the majority of people needed this, so he voted the other way. I can be okay with that.
We're real bad also in this area about relationships. We always want to say that the person who aligns themselves with A, B, C, D, and I kind of did that also with Karbasi. You know, being a Democrat, but he's been aligned and supported by the Republican machinery, Dyer and safety and the police.
Right.
I mean, I believe Mims supports him as well. I know Smith Camp does. And
Which
so,
one, Bob or Bill?
No, neither. The lady, Lisa, the DA.
The DA.
The DA supports Karbasi as well. And so when
If I ever wanted support, I want Bill and Bob.
well, that's her husband and
I
father-in-law,
think that's the
right?
father-in-law.
Yeah.
Those are 2 brothers.
Oh,
Bill
sorry,
Smitkamp.
her uncle and father-in-law.
Bill Smitkamp and Bob Smitkamp, and I'll digress here for a second. They were, and they're probably not watching this, but I met them when I ran for assembly a long time ago, and I like those guys. They're solid, straight. They're conservative, and they're hard right, you know, and maybe they won't even agree with that, but I knew where they were, but they believed in me personally. That one filter, right, the 1% filter, they believed in me personally because I was the best person,
Right.
and they were willing to take a chance on me. That's an ABBA song. Take a chance on me. They were willing to take a chance on me because they felt that regardless of what it was, that I was a military guy, I work with kids, that I'm a good person, and that it's best to put good people in position. And then if politics rips them up, then I'll just be another one of them, right? But maybe, just maybe, you take a chance on something like that ends up being able to, and I think even now, this was a long time ago, that was 20-something years ago, right? But even now, where I am now, I can tell you directly, I mean, we're old enough. You're a little bit older than me, but we're old enough to say.
Am I really?
I think you are a little bit. So I think we're old enough to say, you're early 80s, I was mid to late 80s. High school.
When did you graduate?
88.
Oh, I am older than you.
Yeah.
Can I go home now?
You're not off the hook.
Can Grandpa go home now?
You're not off the hook. Hey, listen, if I let my stuff grow out, you see a lot of gray too.
But that's the only place I can grow it, man.
I got my gray.
I got to grow it where I can.
Now you're starting to talk like, oh man, me too. Like, oh man, we're in trouble. But I mean, I look at it from that perspective where you take a chance on somebody like that. And by the way, if I rolled over and died tomorrow, it's all right because I know what I did. I know who I am and what I've done. But I'm beginning to, not beginning, but I've been moving that way for a long time now. Taking a chance on people that maybe don't have all those other things, that aren't within the system, that maybe they fail. But what do? Go with the devil you know? I'm tired of that line, by the way. Go with the devil you know, because you don't know.
How do we meet, man? What by happenstance is exactly the road that you just laid out.
True. Very true.
That is how we met.
Very true. That is how we met.
You and I weren't front runners when we were out there politicking. We
not well funded.
Not well funded.
Not
paths crossed.
Not taken care of by the machinery.
We had a conversation, kicked each other in the ass, and pat each other on the
honest,
back.
Honest, straight-laced, to the point, no games. And I'm going to say it. And I know probably for you too, but I can't change.
Yeah, I'm not going to
I can't change. If there was a party apparatus or machinery that told me to conform, I'd tell them to go. Well, I think you know what I would do. And and if that means I'm never in office, then oh well. What am I going to do? Die because I'm not in office?
Amen.
I've told the guy before, what are you going to do? Not help me win? You didn't know what to say. You just
I'm pretty successful at that. Already.
Look. This is a union head. This was a union head. And I told him, I said, what are you going to, I looked him right in the eye, I said, what are you going to do? Not help me win? You've already done that, homeboy. And he didn't know what to say. He just sat there because in their world, it's about, future possible relationships. I said, no, you already screwed me. You expect me to do that again? Oh, hell no. You didn't know what to say. Because in their world, it's about conforming and eventually rolling along with the system. And I'm quite literally telling them, the system is the reason why people don't trust people like you. People don't trust you because of that. So I said, if I do win something and I get elected, it'll be because I have a name and I talk to people and they know who I am. And if I don't, trust me, I ain't dying. I live a good life. You know how I am. I'm happy. I'm a good guy. All right, so let's move on. We're going to run out of time here. So Mr. Miller here. Mr. Miller did. Mr. Miller was on Hardball with Chris Matthews.
True.
Mr. Miller was on Hardball with Chris Matthews on MSNBC.
Question and everything. Ready.
He had a question for the Pete Buttigieg town hall, and that was in Fresno, California. Correct. So whether you're left or right, it does not matter. It was cool that we actually got something.
That was last week.
It was last week.
A week ago.
So Monday. I thought it was cool that we actually had a national broadcast, a nationally syndicated show, a cable show, that actually came to Fresno, California, on the campus of Fresno State. For all of you guys that are local or homeboys, we had a major network and a TV show that was local, and Pete Buttigieg was the candidate. Again, whether you're left or right, that's good for Fresno because we're not a small town. We're not the most massive, but we're not small either. Okay, greater area is over 1 million. Man. Yeah, greater area, we're over 1 million. So we're not small.
600,000 people.
Exactly.
So projected to be 600,000 people.
So we're not small. We're not small. So Darren was on the show. We'll say you're doing SuperMex Nation like working the bass, right? You're working the
You
bass.
should have gave me a button, man, because I was sitting right next to the camera, although I didn't get a chance to get up there to the microphone.
I probably should have gave you a shirt. You could have went like that. SuperMex Nation, what's up? What's up? But so you didn't get to ask your question. But let's do this. What was your take on Buttigieg?
I liked him. I didn't know a whole bunch about him. I kind of did my own little oppositional research on him, getting ready for the show, preparing for the show. But the one thing about him, he's a truthful guy. He was honest. When he didn't understand, I shouldn't say didn't understand, but when he didn't have an answer on something, he told you that. He
didn't dance.
He didn't dance at all. There was a couple times in there where Chris tried to pin him down on some things. He basically said, no, I that's not where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Well, are you gonna change? I don't know.
Yeah. So this is good because what I'm going to tell you is like, so going back to the very first town hall he did, the very first one. I watched that. Okay. Didn't know who the guy was. I just knew he was some kid that was getting the race, 37 years old. And he was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, which isn't a massive town, massive city. So it's not like he's mayor of New York or LA or something, right? But, I gave him a listen because I've been doing a lot of that, giving everybody a listen because I fundamentally believe everybody gets a shot. This is America. So I did listen. And what struck me, and I remember telling my wife, and if she were here, she would vouchsafe me on the comment. What I walked away was, I said comments. He's smart. He tells the truth, and even when they try to get him, he doesn't duck and dance.
Right.
So now, and I'm going to say it, and for my audience, I don't, I'm probably not with him on every issue. I'm not with him on all issues, but those things jumped out at me. The kid's smart.
Yeah, and he has a plan. He don't have a plan for everything, but he does have a plan for
That's Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, she's got a plan for everything. But he has a plan for the big things. And my question happened to be about unity. Around what is it that he would do as president to unite our country? From our inception.
Because we need it.
I don't remember exactly what the question was, but basically it had to do something along the lines of since our inception, we've been a divided nation, such and such, and it's not always been about along ethnic lines. The LGBTQIA community has always fought for inclusion. The women community has always fought for inclusion. Our minority are
oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Immigrants.
I'm gonna get in trouble. Hold on.
What?
IA. Help me out, because I don't know what the IA is.
I don't know what the IA stands. I have to go back.
Lesbian, gay, bisexual,
LGBT, transgender is a T.
Trans.
Q is queer.
IA. KP?
We'll have to get it. I don't remember what it is, but I know that the IA is the last two monikers.
I've never heard that. So is that well, no, I have, but I didn't know what it was.
And there's a plus at the end.
A plus.
And there's a plus at the end.
You're educating me. You're like doing this when you did the thing you told me about,
Which one?
Latin X.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So
man, I'm bad.
So but anyway, so all of those different our immigrant community now is the ones who are fighting for inclusion into our country. Unfortunately, our current president has done a lot of things to fight back on that, pushing us back to a time of exclusion and seclusion, segregation.
Okay. And so that question was
what are you going to do as the incoming president if you become President Buttigieg? What are you going to do to unite our country?
Okay.
And that was the essence of my question. But
we don't have a lot of time. Let's get to some of the. So you've seen the polls lately. I mean, we talked about that just right before we went on air. So
Iowa.
The Iowa caucus poll,
right,
as of right now, and I think it's fluid. I think it's crazy because that's a different. Caucuses are different than normal primaries. So it was Biden was 24, Bernie was 16, Warren was 15, Buttigieg was 14.
14, correct.
So that number is all kinds of fluid and changing, and then everybody else is like 7 or below.
Biden has lost a little.
Right.
He's lost a few percentage points. I want to say he was at 28, now he's at 20.
And a lot of it because he isn't in Iowa.
Bernie has, I want to say he went up one tick. The two fastest growing is Warren and Buttigieg. And I think it's healthy. One of the things I like about my side of the ledger being a Democrat is that we have not had a circular firing squad. People have had,
it's coming.
Well, I'm hoping, and if it does come,
I'm kind of hoping it doesn't happen But
Here's a perfect example. What happened with Biden and his about face on this
the Hyde Amendment.
the Hyde Amendment,
Correct.
is an opportunity where he set himself up to take it from every angle possible.
He had no choice, though. I'll tell you that much.
But I'm not worried about him changing.
Right.
I'm just saying that the other 20 people who are running against him, there was an opportunity for them to jump on him
Yep.
tooth and nail,
Yep.
and they didn't do that. They told that there were some statements. Yeah, he was not
kind
right.
of. I'll push back a little bit. The only there's one. Okay, Marianne Williamson, the gal that was Oprah's spiritual advisor.
Is she running for president?
Yes,
I don't know who that is.
Marianne Williamson, and I'm gonna tell you like I'm gonna
She
say
must be 23.
Okay, so we wanted to talk about candidates. And
I don't know. I don't know who that
So because
person
I'm
is.
watching them all. I'm watching them all. Some I like, some I don't.
I'm
Some
not
are like,
watching them
some-
all. I'm
okay,
just
so
kinda
Marianne
watching the top
Williamson,
half.
they asked her about the Hyde Amendment thing.
Mm-hmm.
She looked into the camera and said, and I tell you what, she ticked up some points on my end, not because I'm in love with Biden or this candidate
Mm-hmm.
or that candidate, but I like the response. The response was simple. I appreciate your question, but I'm not here to worry about Joe Biden. I'm here to tell you about what I'm going to do.
Right.
I was like, that's a damn good answer.
Right.
Because that means, circular firing squad, that's not going to happen. At least with somebody like her. She wants to talk about her issues and her differences than the other candidates, but without doing it in a dirty way.
Yeah, the worst comment, the worst comeback or worst response I've heard, I don't remember, it was either Warren or
It's
it
been
was
subtle.
Harris.
It's been subtle.
That said, yeah, it's been very subtle.
Okay, it's
Something
been
about he's on the
Harris-
wrong side of the ledger.
Correct.
But that's
correct.
for
Okay.
him to deal with,
So
not for me to
the
deal with.
ones that I have seen that have,
Mm-hmm.
like, with some subtlety, taken some shots because of that. Warren, Harris, Buttigieg a little, although his was really nuanced.
I didn't see, I don't remember his at all.
I'm going to tell you, his was really nuanced. Let me say, this kid's smart. He's ridiculously smart. I may not vote for him. I don't know. But I do know this. He's really smart.
I like
the way
him.
he laced it in, I sat there and I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, this kid's smart. She goes, I know you said that already. I was like, okay, he's a Rhodes Scholar. He's all this other stuff, right? But the way he laced his argument and what you caught, it was psychological warfare with the comment taking a shot at Biden, but you couldn't really tell that it was taking a shot at Biden. So it was him, Harris, Warren. Booker kind of did, but not too much. And then
Booker,
maybe one
though,
or two of the others.
he's reaching for straws now because he's lost all his momentum.
I think he's does. Let's do the ugly because we're running out of time here. Let's do the ugly and simple because this is SuperMex Nation. There's one Hispanic in the race, one Mexican guy. He's got a snowball's chance in hell.
The twin?
Yeah, Castro.
Castro?
Okay, and I'm bringing it up
No,
because
he was here. I got a chance to
Yeah, I
listen
know
to
that.
him.
Okay, so
he's
I'm-
another very, very, very highly intelligent.
He is, but he's got no
person.
chance in hell. So how many black folk do we have in the race?
2,
Just 2.
I believe.
And so I'm
Unless
looking.
unless one of the lower is Williamson, is the lady you just mentioned?
Nope.
She's not. Okay. So you've got
Hold on.
Harris.
I'm looking at the map.
Harris and Booker.
Nope, it's just those 2.
Okay.
So of the 2, I don't think Booker's going to get out of the chute. I think
Correct.
it's going to be up to Harris if black folk have a shot at getting her on the ticket, either
Correct.
as president or vice president.
Correct. But the whole thing about her also, she's another highly, highly, highly intelligent woman. But I think that, okay, so how do I say this?
Would you agree with me that there are not a lot of stupid people? I'm going to say it.
There's some people. They're not stupid, but there's some people that should
Well, that's
that
what I'm
should not
saying.
be in this race.
You're probably right, but my point is that this is the one thing I do like. People think, oh, it's a circus. No, I don't think so. I think it's a
I don't
lot of
either.
different ideas and concepts coming out.
A lot of one-issue candidates.
And,
that are in there.
here's the good part about that, Darren. Think about this. There are a lot of there are one-issue candidates, right? The governor from Washington's always talking about he's got his plan for
You got
climate.
Yang. I'm on
so you got
Yang's newsletter. I get
right.
his stuff all the time.
You've got some one-issue candidates, but here's where it goes: that you take those one issues and you refine them
Okay.
over time, and maybe that person drops off and that person drops off. But when you're done, you have the ability that maybe, just maybe, whoever the Democrat is that wins it all, and then goes up against Trump.
when they develop their platform.
I'm going to tell you what I would do. I'm going to tell you exactly what I would do. Toot, toot, toot,
Yeah.
toot, toot, toot. I'm cherry picking
will.
all of the best ideas out of all these
Hell,
opponents.
President Trump did that in his presidency. There's a lot of things out there that
I'd be jacking good ideas.
He grabbed a bunch of things out there and told people this is what I'm going to do. Very few of them will come to fruition now in his 2-year tenure, but that's what he did.
But you understand the rationale behind vetting and then and what I'm saying is filtering and taking good ideas. Some of them have come up with some decent
But that
ideas.
goes back though. That undercuts a little bit what you were saying earlier about. I don't remember exactly what I said about the show, the politics about the show that goes on with the political side of it. That's unfortunate right now that in our national politics, I agree with you that it's about the show. It's
Yeah.
about being the master presenter.
I think if Biden doesn't win the nomination, because name ID alone, he should win. I think most people understand that. America understands that. If he doesn't win the nomination, it's going to be because of that, the show.
It's going to be because of young people.
Correct.
He has not. It'll be because he did not connect and did not convince millennials that he was the right man for the job. Whoever grabs,
Younger people that just
that-
want a new face.
Because the ways that things have been, the way that you've won political campaigns before has changed. It's been morphing for a while. Even in the Trump candidacy, for when Hillary made the conversation about the deplorables,
Yeah.
he was able to take
Jump on
jump on it,
Right.
and get it
Make
hot.
an issue of it.
Make an issue of it that benefited him. I think that however our young people, our millennials, whatever gets them hot and stimulated, whoever the person is going to do that is going to be the person that wins the
So
presidency.
we haven't, you haven't been on in a few weeks, but I've been moving this way, and so my audience, I've got, some of my audience is our age or older, but I've been telling my
Remember, you're
audience,
older than me.
you guys out there, huh?
Remember, you're older than me.
Not much. So I've been telling my audience out there that I'm not saying I'm like devoiding myself of older than us. What I am saying though is I'm tired of people saying that this coming generation is bad and they're worthless and they're not going to be good.
They're different.
Okay, so you're an educator too, and you understand why I think this way. I do think that it's our fault if they end up being nothing or not good, because we're the ones educating them, we're the ones building this country, or that have been with the stewardship of this country. If the succeeding generations don't live up to their potential, then whose fault is that? It's not their fault. They're
That's
being
not
raised.
going to happen. It's not. I work with
I
I work with young people
yeah.
every day. I can tell you right now, it is not a matter of fault or anything. They just do things and process information
Different.
and expend energy differently than what we do.
Correct.
And what it is that our system, our old system, and the way that we've done things, does not recognize that or accept that into our new processes. And so that's where you get the lazy, the shiftlessness, that they're not really engaged. But they are voting. They're just not in political parties.
Listen, I'm going to be a slob, and I don't do this very often. I think you know this, but I look at somebody like my son and my daughter. Like, oh, that's not a good example because they're yours, right? But the people that they're around and the people that they're with, maybe it's not the majority of the millennial America, but damn, they're solid. I mean, my son's already talking about how he's going to change the world by doing these things that we didn't do. Why? Because he can see the things that are not correct or right that we failed to do. He doesn't have animosity towards past generations. He doesn't hate baby boomers or Gen X. He just looks at, literally, this is not a joke, Darren. He looks like at the big board and he says, they didn't do this one, they didn't do that, they were really good at that, we're going to take that. He's processing all this information and he's going to turn around and say, this is what America can be. We just take the good things and add them and make them a part of what we are, and then we remove the bad things. That's smart.
My younger son, when he was 18, got him registered, voted. I know the only reason why he voted was because his dad was involved in politics and encouraged him to do that. When he turned 20 and 22, I actually ran, I don't remember which seat I was running for that. He didn't even vote. He's a vote by mail person. Age 20 and 22, he did not vote. He was away at college and doing different things. Now he's back. This last election cycle, 24, he was 24 then, he voted. Actually helped him participate.
Much more engaged.
And now he's asking me questions about what's going on. It's just a matter that, and it would be very easy for me to demonize him for not voting
correct.
for those 2 years, even when his dad was actually running the race, but I didn't do that. I just, as much as it bothered me, I just encouraged him. Look, dude, you're going to wake up one morning, you're going to not like the way things are, and you're going to want to change them.
You're going to want to do something
and
about
it. This is the process you're going to use.
I'm also watching, so we'll do that. Now, therein lies my optimism. Is that, and I'm going to say it, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but therein lies my optimism, is that they're aware. They are more acutely aware of maybe you and I of what the problems were when we were their ages. I really believe that. I see them, and I'm saying to myself, whoa, they're actually thinking about this. They're talking about how they're going to do this and that. And I'm sitting there like, wow. And you want to say, okay, the one bad apple in the bunch, right? You're going to point out all the ones that are not good, but you're going to miss the forest for the trees and see these kids that are doing incredible things and that have a mind to be better than we are. That's where I'm optimistic. Let me wrap up with this. So this is my general assessment. So we see that, the caucus, Biden has a larger percentage in terms of his lead on a national scale.
Correct.
Not just the caucus. And I'm going to stipulate here that Biden hasn't even been in Iowa a whole lot. There's rationale behind why his numbers have dipped a little bit. He hasn't been there a lot. The others have been there a lot. So I'm beginning to, because you do know everything comes back to earth. He had a great rollout. I think people understand that. He did things right. But I do think that the average Democratic voter is going to be hyper engaged because they really want, the president gone. They're going to want him out. So they're going to be hyper engaged in the process on the Democratic side. And I'm going to say it. They're filtering out the people that, one, they don't think can win.
Right.
And two, that are not laying down some serious items and issues. That's why, in a weird way, Elizabeth Warren has rebounded back, because the joke about her is what?
She's the one
she has a plan for everything.
She's the one that's making connections to the young folks, though.
She has a plan.
And that's what the
whether you like the plan or not.
Right. Millennials,
you see my point?
Millennials want to know, what are you going to do? What is it that you're going to do?
So you're reinforcing my point earlier.
Not what your party did before.
Thank you.
What are you as a candidate going to do, and how is it going to affect me individually?
Yeah, my son's kind of not, and I don't know about your son, but my son's not kind of Democrat or Republican. He's kind of, he said, Dad, I'm going to make my own mind up. If I don't think one party's good or another, I'm going to chuck them both.
Decline to state.
He'd just say, I don't need any of them. Okay, but that part right there, she's got a plan for everything. That does, I'm going to say, I do like that. I may not vote for her. I don't know. It's like, maybe. But, on this side, but she has a plan. If you sit there and go through her stuff,
and there's
she
nothing
can
wrong
tell
with
you
that.
with explicitness what she's going to do.
That's what you want in a leader.
You want them to tell you who the hell they are. So she does.
Here's my plan. Here's how we're going to execute it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, here is how we're going to make amends, how we're going to correct it so that we're able to go forward.
Right.
And so people always want to say that a person with a whole bunch of plans is dictating you. No, it just means that as a leader, they want to get you going in that direction.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for her also.
Yeah.
The thing I like about her the most is she has a plan, but she also has experience that her plan has been vetted through. Buttigieg,
right,
how some other things, has great plans, but he doesn't have the depth and knowledge of experience to be able to vet what his plans are through.
Right.
So I think he still thinks, okay, I want to do this because it's a good thing.
Well,
Elizabeth Warren, I want to do this because it's a good thing, and here's how we're going to do it because I've seen it done that way.
Some things that do matter to me, and I think for some obvious reason, and you've said it, I'm an intelligent guy, and I like to know that if I'm going to vote for somebody, if I'm going to consider somebody, and quite literally, that's why I filter through. Elizabeth Warren's smart. She's bright.
Brilliant.
Okay, and so is Buttigieg. And there are others in the race, but those, for whatever reason, have crystallized that ability to communicate a quality message in language with substance beneath the language. Okay, so we're finishing up, and I got to wrap up, but this is my last thought too.
You're over time, man.
I'm going to tune you up on this one.
So what did I send my overtime check? Overtime voucher for?
It's like, I'll put you back on hardball. Here's one that, and I got to say it because, asking. So you're a homeboy, a little darker than me. I'm minority, you're minority. So, it's obligatory. You're going to take a look. I'd be lying if I say I didn't look. Julian Castro's in the race. I don't think he's got a chance, and it's unfortunate because he's a bright kid. Harvard graduate. He's smart. I don't agree with all of his policies, but he's a smart guy, and I hate having to say he's got no chance in hell. All right, I don't like it. I think Booker's kind of there.
Oh, yeah, Booker's
I don't think he's going to gain traction aside. Maybe Harris has a shot. So in terms of minorities is my point.
I think Harris has got a shot because of where she comes from, California. As long as she's the major Californian candidate.
Correct, but you do know the other argument though, right? I mean, she's coming from a state that's already blue.
Correct. But that's what all she needs to have. She doesn't need to worry about the reds right now.
No, you're correct.
She's got to win the blues first.
Okay, so it's a strategy. This isn't like Democrat or Republican, but strategically. I'd actually consider taking Stacey Abrams over her.
But Stacey's out. Yeah, I agree.
Maybe she is, but she comes from a red state, and she got a lot of votes.
No? She's not going to run for president. From what I understand, she's being courted as a vice president.
That's my point.
So I'm talking about one of the other things that you may not know.
I'm talking about ticket.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not talking about she's going to run.
Yeah.
I'm saying what provides you. Okay, here's as a hypothetical. Say it was Biden, like as of right now. Say it was Biden.
He got a choice to take.
I know, but because I'm saying if I'm a military guy on the field, I'm probably taking Abrams.
Why is that?
Because she provides me Southern votes, more so than California's not going anywhere.
Kamala's going to get you the black female vote across the country.
Wouldn't Harris get that too? I mean, excuse me, Abrams?
Yeah.
In
But
a significant enough number?
But Abrams cannot supply you California.
They're going to get that anyway. The California's going blue. It's not going to Trump.
I see what you're saying.
And it's ugly.
I hadn't
Don't get me
thought
wrong.
I hadn't thought
Don't
about
get me
it that
wrong.
way. I see what you're saying.
But if you're trying to put together a map and you're trying to beat President Trump,
Abrams
Stacey Abrams
is going to get you
Stacey
Georgia,
Abrams,
Florida,
possibly. But you see
Alabama,
that Southeast regional.
Gotcha.
She provides you an uptick in Southern black female or maybe minority votes in general in the South.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it that way. But
Because you're going to
right.
get California anyway.
You're right. You're right.
So I
hadn't thought about it
listen,
that way.
I'm being nonpartisan, non-preferential, but on a strictly military strategic aspect, I would go with Abrams.
By the way, I was a delegate at the California State Convention.
I know, man. You're doing everything.
So didn't get a chance to see all of the candidates, but the ones that lit up the room, Elizabeth Warren lit up the room. Of course, Kamala lit up the room. She's a California girl. Bernie Sanders lit up the room, did a good job. He went to a lot of the caucuses and things. If I'm not mistaken, Joe Biden didn't even come.
Did not. No, he
Yeah,
didn't.
so I'm not sure what that was all about. Buttigieg was there. I heard him.
He's playing the front runner role.
That's in it, but
I'm not a big fan of it either. So here's the last thing I'll give you before I can. This one kind of hurts me, and so it's like hurts me on multiple levels. I told you about the Castro kid, right? I do look to see how minorities are doing. I think it's America, and you want to see minorities pulling the bootstraps up and getting to the top, right? Seth Moulton. He's the only combat veteran in the race, period. Harvard graduate, 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he's smart, really smart. But I don't think he's getting any traction. He's not gaining any traction. He might not even make the stage.
He's not, because I don't even know. I haven't heard that name.
And it's I'm gonna say it, and then just for me,
Moulton, M-O-T-N?
Seth Moulton, M-O-U-L-T-O-N.
Okay.
He is bright. He is we love our servicemen, right? But we can't even get out of the gates with a serviceman. This kid is legit. He's honest. He actually challenged Pelosi for the leadership.
Well, isn't what you call him? Isn't she a veteran also?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Gabbard.
Notice though, I said there's 3 veterans in the race: Buttigieg,
Oh yeah,
Tulsi
Buttigieg
Gabbard,
also. Right.
Tulsi Gabbard,
Right.
and Seth Moulton. Moulton is a Marine. Moulton did 4 tours in Iraq and
You
Afghanistan.
said combat.
There's a difference.
You said.
I don't want, and I'm not going to do that to my brothers in arms on the show, but they know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
There is a distinction.
Okay.
Seeing combat as an infantryman is a lot different than, and I don't like getting into those weeds because you don't dismiss somebody else's service. But somebody that has seen combat on the ground, so his line is, I think it's time that this generation that has served in all these wars over the 18 years began to take leadership from the people that put us in those wars.
Right.
And Harvard grad, multiple tours, smart, and I'm crying inside because he's not even going to get a look. It's unfortunate because I hear all the time how we love our servicemen, but you're not seeing a lot of servicemen getting elected anymore.
Well, you got one more person. I'll be looking him up.
Who's that?
Seth Moulton.
Oh, okay.
I'll be
I'm
looking him up.
asking you to.
I'll look him up.
Because, I mean, he's different, but that's what they say about me too, by the way. Like, I don't know, that guy's a little different. We're different, but we never lie. We tell the truth, and it makes people uncomfortable. And I'm telling you, America, you want the truth when it makes you uncomfortable, and then you look away and you go somewhere else because they tell you what you want to hear, then that's on us. That's our fault. Okay, great show tonight, Brother Miller. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Way over today, but I will be back on Wednesday. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Just give you a synopsis of all that's going on. Be open-minded, be fair. I'm not asking you to vote for any of the ones that we talked about in Fresno or out or on a national scale, but I mean, it's good thought and good idea. There's some smart people throwing out ideas. If they're not for you, at the very least, if you want to be an arguer against them, then it's probably good that you hear their argument. That makes you a little more intellectually capable in terms of processing and taking in information that may not be your cup of tea. That's SuperMex Nation for tonight. I have a great week. Look forward to seeing you for the rest of the week. Wrap in Mondays. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.